Be a part of the program? Well, why don't you drop us a line? Address it to the Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown, New Navy. So give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized. And when we get on the show, you take as little time as possible so we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we'll not accept anything that we deem is not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. Also, you can follow our live video stream of this program on our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio. Click subscribe, and also our YouTube channel at Vaughan Radio. Again, thank you all for joining us, your voice in the community, talk and get results. Tonight, the program is in two segments. The first segment, we have some officers from the Community Development Department in the Nevis Island Administration. They're having something for a whole month, and they'll tell us about it in a half an hour, right? So it's good to have them here. And by the way, if you think that one of your friends or somebody might have forgotten to tune in, let them know that something is important not only for them but for the kids as well. So, Denicia Smith, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Herbert. Thank you for having us.
And the second name is Richardson?
Patterson, yes.
And the first name?
Gavin.
You have a heavyweight name, so it gets me confused sometimes. So Gavin Patterson.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Huber.
Where do you get that name?
It was given to me from my grandfather.
He told you that?
Yeah.
You make Denicia laugh. Your grandfather told you he gave you that name?
Yes, he directly gave me that name.
No, walk with me. The question I ask you, if your grandfather told you that he gave you that name?
Yes, he did.
He told you that?
Yes, he did.
And you believe him?
Yes.
Okay. So, if your mother were to tell someone that she gave you that name, you'll say what?
Well, I will say she got it from my grandfather.
Okay, so your grandfather gave her?
Yes.
And as a consequence, she gave you?
Yes.
But she got it from?
Yes, from him.
Anyway, that's just a light moment to open up the show. So you're from the Community Development Department, did I get it right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So not everybody knows about that and what you do. So let's begin by doing that, and then we get into the other reasons why we're here. Okay? So let's do that.
Okay, so hello to the listening audience. My name is Denicia Smithen. I'm the Deputy Director at the Department of Community Development. At the Community Development Department, we deal with community-based activities and programs. We deal with skills training and capacity building programs, and we also collaborate with community groups and community-based organizations in hosting various activities and functions. And of course, Mr. Patterson is here with us as well. We also have some community steel bands that we are in charge of, and those bands are very, very active. And so community development is all things community, all things community vibrant. When it comes to vibrancy and being active in the community, that's community development. And as Mr. Herbert would have mentioned, we're here to talk about Community Development Month. We are celebrating 10 years, and before I continue, of course, Mr. Patterson will introduce himself.
Well, I think you summed up everything there in a nutshell. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gavin Patterson. I'm a Community Development Officer at the Community Development Department. I'm in charge of the Steel Pan program that is currently running. And as Ms. Smitten correctly said, we have a very vibrant program that is running right now. So we're going to talk about that a little later on. But yeah, basically that's what I do at the department.
Okay, so the month of activities that we are having now, is an annual event?
Yes, Community Development Month is an annual event, and I must commend our former director, Miss Janet Nisbet Meloni, who would have been one of the main persons who would have started Community Development Month. And so this is the 10th year of Community Development Month, and we are celebrating under the theme committed to community and dedicated to progress. As we know, our society is evolving, and we have so many persons from various countries coming now to live on our island, and we want to celebrate those persons as well as all community members, those who would have been here before and after. And also we understand that community has changed over the years. In yesteryears, we were not so glued to our phone and to technology, and nowadays you hardly find persons not on Facebook or not, going on TikTok and all of that. And so we understand that, and we are trying to roll with those times and evolve as the community evolves. And so that's why we came up with that name, Committed to Community and Dedicated to Progress.
All right, so what else we got? Like I said, let us know,
Okay.
and the audience, listeners, know as much about the community, the work that you do. You do not only the month of activities, but on an ongoing basis.
Right.
What is some of the stuff you do that involve the community, whether it be youths or adults, and how can they benefit?
Well, we also have a vibrant steel pan program that has been going on for quite a while now, over some years. We started with 12 community steel bands throughout Nevis. So right now we have 7 steel bands because we had to combine some, so we have competing bands now that take part in the Culturama steel pan competition, and also the Carnival, National Carnival Panorama competition as well. They also play for various activities throughout the year. So they're very active. Right now we are engaged in the Panyard series that is taking place right now every last Sunday in the month. So we had 2 series right now. So the month of May, the ending is going to be the 3rd, so everybody's looking forward to it. That's a build up to the Culturama events that is happening right now. So every ending of the month, every last Sunday, we want to have a Panyard session, as to say. That takes place at the Malcolm Gishad Recreational Park at the grounds. The last 2 programs was very well received by the general public, and they are looking forward to continuous programs as such.
And to add to what Mr. Patterson would have mentioned, currently we have the sewing class that we started a few weeks ago at the Barnsgate Community Center, and that has been going well. It's actually a highly demanded workshop. We have persons who are on a wait list, and we are going to probably see if we can implement it at another community center coming up maybe in a few months, hopefully. We also have some games clubs that are being executed throughout the island of Nevis. So we have the Royal Kids on the Block, and that is at the Cornmill Training Center, and that's being spearheaded by Miss Tracy Paris. We have the Gifted Games Club, and that is at the Barnsgate Community Center, and we also have the Games Club at the Brownhill Community Center. I think that's on a small pause right now, but we have some games clubs, and we also have some programs that we usually do programs over each quarter, and so we would have had in previous times the Stonewall building workshop, and we're trying to see if we can implement some more workshops and some more classes. Over the years we've had keyboard lessons for children, and we want to thank those persons who would have contributed to that program by donating to the Cotton Ground Community Center some keyboards, and we're trying to see, hopefully in the near future, to re-implement that program. And so we are skills training, and we also assist community groups, and so right now we have some community management teams, and I want to commend our community development officers who continuously work with these groups and the community management teams. So we have the Jessup's community management team, and they're going to be having their Jessup Seafood Fiesta coming up next Monday, and that's their 10th anniversary as well. And I want to commend them for their efforts and for doing it so diligently every year. And I commend Miss Leander Cornelius, she's the center manager, for working with the Jessup's community management team. The president, Miss Tamara Farrell, both of them, they work hand in hand over the years to get the Jessup Seafood Fiesta up and running and to the place where it is today. And we thank the donors and sponsors who are too numerous to mention. We thank them for all their contributions to the Jessup Seafood Fiesta. And we have so we work with community groups, community management teams, and we also have various activities. And of course we are in charge of the community centers around the island of Nevis. And so if anyone is interested in hosting a program or an event or skills training workshop, you can reach out to us at the Department of Community Development. Our phone number is 469-5521 extension 6461-6462 or 2188, whatever you want to dial, of course. And so we also work with persons in the community if they have any ideas, if they have any suggestions, and we try to pilot those programs in the various areas where we see there's a need.
Okay, first off, I wanted to ask, with the steel pans that you spoke about, how do we become a part of them?
A member? All right. Well, membership is free, because that's the first thing people ask. What's the cost of membership? So I'll let you know one time. It's free, of course. All you have to do is get in contact with any community development officer and just let them know you will like to sign up. You just come into the office and that's it. And just sign up.
How difficult it is to play the pan?
It depends on everyone. Everyone has their own ability, but as long as you're willing to play an instrument, any instrument or anything in life, it just depends on you to how you're going to approach it and apply yourself. Right? It just comes down to how you're going to apply yourself, and it just takes off from there.
What age you are allowed to join to play the pan?
We take members from as young as 6 years old. Right up to the senior citizens age. We also have a senior citizen steel band, golden years steel band, that is active, that is been functioning for quite a while now. Yes, so they are the elder heads, and they are very, very enthusiastic about what they do. Very keen.
I always wanted to know this, and you seem like you may well have the answer. You gave me the age of a kid,
from 6,
which was 6. But I always wanted to know, what's the age of a senior citizen?
You put me on the spot.
That's a hard question.
That's a hard question, man. I don't want to offend anyone.
But it was seemingly very easy to say, because you excitedly said from age 6 to senior citizen.
Right.
So, but if you don't know the answer,
I did not say an age for the senior citizen.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. We don't want to offend anyone.
Okay. I talk with people all the time, and that will come up. Senior citizens.
Well,
now, work with me. Notice I said I always wanted to ask this question. So if you don't know,
age is just a number. I would say it just depends on how you feel. If you feel you're young. It's not up to anybody to say, well, you're a citizen, a senior citizen or anything. Age is just a number, If once you feel vibrant and young.
Okay, so the question I ask, what's the age of a senior citizen? And the answer is, age is just a number.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so anybody basically who is willing and able can come and play the pan.
Exactly.
And so on. How long will it take, average? Because I know that some people's abilities are
right.
different to others. But on an average,
On an
how long
average-
it will take for me or someone to learn to play the pan?
All right. Well, I would say within a season, within one season, you should be able to play 1 or 2 songs within a season. Yeah, a season being 2 to 3 months. Yeah, you should be able to play a couple songs. I mean, you mightn't be the best player, but
Right.
you would be able to play 1 or 2 songs. Yeah, within one season.
Yeah, you see, I ask this question because I know it. A lot of persons see the youngsters and the senior citizens playing. So, people will want to know. Well, I wonder if I can do that, and
Yes,
they probably have a
yes.
couple of questions in their mind. Maybe it's too different. So that's why.
And the steel pan is a very relaxing, what do you call it? A very relaxing thing to get into. Yeah, it's very relaxing, very relaxing. So I will commend anybody, I recommend it to anybody to get involved in any musical instrument.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for real.
And with the community development stuff that you help in the community, what I wanted to ask and know as well is, how are we doing with that in terms of numbers and people getting involved in and so on? Because when we're evaluating the society, we are saying that people don't do this no more and people don't do that, and perhaps one of the reasons why we experience this negativity in the society is perhaps because of the community spirit. So against that backdrop, how are we doing with that?
Well, in terms of the community participation, of course, there's always room for improvement over the years, especially before when I was a community development officer. It takes a lot of push and encouragement and what's the word? I don't want to use the word, but it takes a lot of following up, for lack of a better word. And so
Okay, you would like me to use the word? Well, okay, you'll like me to attempt not to use the word, but to describe what you're saying, or the challenges that you have, they have. In other words, our people bluff a lot.
Well, I must admit, though, there are persons in the community who we can attest to who are very community oriented and very community minded, and I commend those persons. There are so many persons. However, there's room for improvement. It would be really good if we can get more persons on board and to come out and participate when it comes to community events, especially. As a matter of fact, we also assist with the Christmas tree lightings, and so that's another area that we would like to see more persons coming on board and participating in and being active in their community. When we have community programs and even the Jessup Seafood Fiesta, lend a helping hand wherever you see there needs to be. And don't be afraid to come to the department. But as I said, it's a work in progress, and we're working through it, and we're working with those who are willing and trying to still encourage those who might be hesitant for whatever reasons. And so that's one of the reasons why we decided to do 2 community empowerment sessions. And the 2 sessions, one will be on Wednesday, May 15th at the Jessup's Community Center, and that will be from 6 p.m. And then the other one will be on Wednesday, May 22nd at the Pond Hill Community Center. And the topics that we want to address are community action, leadership, and motivation, motivating persons to want to be included in their community, and also ways to boost success, because some persons may have been deterred over the years if there are some issues, maybe lack of resources, limited resources or funding or whatever the case may be, but there are ways around it, and so we want to address some of these things. And so we're encouraging everybody to come out, even if you are not a part of a community group. They will be very interactive and very interesting and exciting, and we're going to, of course, use persons who are very experienced in community and community affairs and community development to lead the charge for these sessions. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And so we're just trying to work through it. trying to just continue to encourage persons, and those who are willing, we work with them. Those who, you know, take the initiative to do things in their community, we encourage them and we assist them in whatever way we can. And those who, you know, may need a push in, you know, that direction, we also try to assist them and encourage them and motivate them to, you know, be active in their community. And so one of the things we also want to do is try to encourage the children coming up to want to partake in their community, so when they grow up, that's something that is naturally instilled in them. And so it's a work in progress, but I think over time we'll, you know, get some results.
You reference experience, right? And there are a lot of different ways to get stuff done, especially when you have a lot of challenges. And you're also at the tail end of the point that you were making just now, reference results. So this is, so I have some experience. And the last, perhaps about 3 projects that I needed to get done, I got results because I faced those issues head on and put it to the persons that they've been bluffing. And that's how I got them done. So sometimes if you come direct and you say how it is, it works. Not all the time. So that comes from experience. And that's,
it's also about the relationship too, because you know, I've been,
you mean like in case
the
you're afraid to
relationship
tell them that they're bluffing?
it's about, yeah, because in my experience, I can't tell when somebody's bluffing. I don't know how, but there would have been instances where, for example, I know somebody's planning something and the person would reassure the individual that, oh, yeah, I'm gonna do it, man, I'm gonna do it, and then you call them the next day, and they, you know, and I say, you sure, and then come to find out the person ended up on the same day or the day before, I cannot make it or I cannot do it. And I would already have, you know, sometimes you can't tell. And I think to solve that, the best thing to do is always have a backup plan, always have an alternative in case of, you know, that happening, and it always works. Just, you know, have a backup plan.
I can say something about myself, so that, of course, hoping that it doesn't sound like I'm boasting or anything. A pastor told me recently that he likes to listen to me because somehow I have the ability to get the truth out. So the truth is that you experience a lot of people bluffing in your work, right?
I didn't say.
You don't want to say it, but we got you. Okay, yes, Pat.
Well, I think our department has some very serious workers, so the bluffing is minimum. It's not something that.
But when you're doing your work, you experience folks do that, so it gets very challenging.
Well,
because Ms. Clinton, for instance, just said sometimes you're trying to organize something, and they promise you and they promise you, and the day.
Yes.
So if you don't have a plan B, and C, D, E, F, G, H, etc., the thing may fail.
Yeah, but the community officers, we really try to work hand in hand with each other. So we really try to complement each other in each project that anyone undertakes. You know.
So there we don't get no bluff.
Right, we don't get any bluff. We really help and stand behind each other with our projects and get stuff done. Get results. Get results. If I could just interject with the steel pan. We have also the Night of Steel coming up. That's a cultural event also. That's on the 6th of July. And then we have the Panorama, the Bonnie Culturama Steel Pan competition. That's going to be on the 29th. Alright, so I'm inviting the general public, everyone listening, to come out to the complex. Come and support the steel pan players, alright? It's going to be a spectacular show. All right, so come out and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the Culturama. Enjoy Culturama 50. So we also have in August, it's going to be taking part in the national, well, not national, the Worldwide Steel Pan Day. Yes, worldwide. It's going to be international Steel Pan Day. Nevis is going to be participating. Also, St. Kitts is going to be participating as well. So that's something to look forward to. It's going to be broadcasted on the World Wide Web, on the internet, Facebook media, all media is going to be advertised on. So that's something else to look forward to. And again, the Panyard concert series at the end of each month, every Sunday. That's something to look forward to as well.
Okay, Denise, do you do any other instruments? I know we're talking about it. Do we do any other instruments at the department?
Currently we don't, but we do have instrument. Well, there are community members who we collaborate with who use the community centers to teach. And so Seth Williams, the undertaker, he does teach the saxophone, I think, at the Brown Hill Community Center, and I want to commend him for, you know, passing on that, you know, art form, that talent. We would have had the keyboard lessons in the maybe a few years ago before COVID, and so we were in the process of getting a facilitator. So that's one of the things that we want to bring back. We taught some children how to play the keyboard. So we had it started with 5 and then we ended up with 9, and we were, you know, shuffling with those children because we only had 5 keyboards. And so in the end we did have some success. One of the students was able to perform, do a recital at the Cotton Ground Christmas tree lighting, and he was very, very proud. He was very elated. His mom was very happy. And so that is one of the things that we are hoping to implement soon. And we're going to probably, well, it's up to, you know, the community, because we also try to tap into what their needs are. And so hopefully in the near future we'll be re-implementing that program. And
when you had some of the programs, you had Easter programs, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
and you taught a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we have the Easter. We usually have Easter, and then we have the Camp Refresh that's coming up in July. That's after school, and so we're just asking the general public to listen out for it. It's going to be very exciting and interactive, and we're going to open it up to all children as usual. And so that's something that we're looking forward to. We have it annually, and so, you know, this year will not be any different. We usually cater to a lot of children. Last year we had about 100 children, or definitely over 90, up to 100 children, and it was, you know, very exciting, and the children were really pleased. We had various activities. So we usually do movies because the children love to go to the movies together, and then we have the fun day, and then we have the activities in between, learning different values, different virtues, and different interactive sessions like traffic rules and safety and that type of thing for Camp Refresh.
So you teach them little life skills, how to survive,
and conflict resolution and that type of thing.
And you can come there and learn to cook and so on.
Yeah, we usually have baking. We have baking workshops as well.
Even the boys, you teach them to cook.
The older children only, though, not the younger ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Mr. Webbo, the Steel Pan program, it's an ongoing program. It's not seasonal like Easter or just for the summer break. This is a program that is from the year start to the year end, because they are involved in functions continuously throughout
How
the
do
year.
you find the children? Are they very enthusiastic about
it? Very enthusiastic.
Very committed.
Very committed. They love what they do. And that actually gives me a sense of joy to actually push harder to get results done, because it's a joy to see people enjoying what you do, you know, enjoying the teaching and learning and be able to perform. It's a joy, and I can see the joy in them when they play. Even the last Panya that we had, which was last Sunday, we did a collaboration with Steel Pan and Deli Ranks, which was, and we loved the festival, and it was vibesy, real vibesy. Yeah, it was. It was well received.
Okay, and once they're involved in things like those, you can't be two places at the same time. So if we have them doing thing, then we know that
they can stay out of trouble. And the classes are well, I don't want to say long, but just to complement what you're saying, it takes some time. So the classes will have you in the community center for some time, staying out of trouble.
Curbs juvenile delinquency and all of that.
What is the participation in terms of the boys? Because everybody complains the boys ain't doing nothing and stuff like that. Is that?
Well, yes. We have more female players than we have male players in respectively in all the bands. But I guess coming back to what you say is just the females probably put themselves more out there to learn. Probably the guys would be more interested in something, else, something more manly. But the music we have more
something more what? No, I didn't get it.
I would say manly.
Something more manly.
Like
cooking and so.
No, man. Like basketball or football or cricket, those kind of stuff. But we have more females in being more interested in the music than males. I don't know why, but it's just like that.
Yeah, I think what you said resonated with me. Maybe the fellas are interested in doing things that are more manly. Yeah. Okay, so let's wrap up. So can we just reiterate some of the stuff we have coming up that you need people to support?
Yes, so Community Development Month, of course, we started with our church service, and we want to, thank the St. George's Anglican Church for accommodating us last Sunday that was, just the other day. And then, of course, Mr. Herbert, thank you for accommodating us so graciously. And on Monday, May 6th, we have the Jessup Seafood Fiesta, and I'm encouraging each and every one of you to go out and support the Jessup's management team. They'll be having so many delicious, mouth-watering food for you to try: grilled kongs, fish, grilled fish, fried fish, curried kongs, seafood pasta, fish pasta, kongs water, whatever you think of that is seafood, they have. On Friday, May 10th, we'll be honoring or acknowledging motherly figures in our community. That will be announced shortly. The names will be announced shortly. On Sunday, May 12th, they will be having the Village Premier League, and that is being done by the Hard Times Sport and Social Club, and that will be at the Hard Times Playfield in Rollins. On Wednesday, May 15th, we'll be having our community empowerment session. That one will be at the Jessup's Community Center, starting at 6 p.m. On Sunday, May 19th, is the Village Premier League once again, and that's the opening of the Village Premier League at the Hard Times Playfield. On Monday, May 20th, we'll be having a white goods cleanup, and on May 22nd, we are going to have our community empowerment session at the Pond Hill Community Center at 6 p.m. On Saturday, May 25th, is our Heritage Festival at the ETW Park, and we've had some new developments, and so we'll disseminate that information soon. On Monday, May 22nd, we are going to be closing off our graduation ceremony for a sewing workshop, and we're just doing something small to acknowledge those persons who would have participated in that workshop. On Thursday, May 30th, our staff will be having the staff development and training session at the Malcolm Gishard Park. And also, I wanted to take the time to speak about our Best Kept Village competition, which is now open, and I'm encouraging each and every one of you, whether you consider yourself to be a part of a small or large village, to come to our department and sign up to be a part of the Best Kept Village competition. As we all know, Nevis is nice, but we want to try to make it even nicer. And so some of the things, it's open to all community groups or organizations. Even if you're not a part of a community group, it's open to you as well. Villages will be judged on overall appearance, cleanliness, garden landscape, and community participation will also be factored in. Individuals, you can apply for duty-free concessions through the Ministry of Finance's Culturama 50 Island Incentive Program. So if you want to be a part of it, that's an added bonus. Groups, you must provide some kind of proof of community participation via whether it's video or photo or whatever the case may be, you can email it to our department. And if you need to find that out, it's on the flyer that is on our Facebook page. And national recognition will be given to the best kept large village and the best kept small village. And that is something that we are trying to encourage persons to have pride in your community. To, of course, we love Nevis, and we love where, Nevis is quaint, Nevis is quiet, Nevis is beautiful, but let's take pride in our community and participate in this initiative, and you will be widely acknowledged. We are going to, of course, acknowledge those communities or whoever is to win each segment. And so we're just encouraging each and every one of you who, see, if you feel like you have what it takes, your community have what it takes to win either category, to come on to our department and fill out a form. It's very easy, it's very simple. Gather a group of your neighbors and gather some rakes, whatever garden tools and equipment you need, and take part in this initiative. Judging will start from July 1st to July 9th, and the criteria, I'm gonna just go over it very briefly. Overall cleanliness and tidiness of the village, 30 points. Architecture and appearance, 20 points. And we're not going to penalize anybody for anything that is not their fault. We're just going to look in general. Garden and landscape, and that includes the overall look of community and household gardens, the absence of, if there's any absence of weed and different, what's the word, bush. The upkeep and maintenance of open spaces and playing fields and children play areas, and private property in terms of if they are well cared for, including the conditions of the grounds, hedges, walls, garages. And as I said, we're not going to penalize anybody if there's something that is out of their control. And so we just want it to be a community effort, and also community group participation. As I said, we just want a little proof that you came together as a community to do this. That is a very big part of it. However, the points are small, just 10 points, but we just want evidence of community spirit, evidence of community togetherness, because it's a community development initiative. And so we're just encouraging each and every one of you to come on and sign up. We have some forms out, and we have some persons some communities, I must say, who are already registered to take part in this. And so if you feel like your community is in that running, is to that standard, or you feel like you can get it to that standard, I'm just encouraging you to come to our department and sign up. Or you can call us, as I said, at 469-5521 extension 6461 or 6462 or 2188.
So we want to thank Denise and Patterson for being here this evening, and to commend and encourage them in the work that they do in the community. Thank you all again. The second segment is coming up right after this.
Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts, or call them at 466-4938.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
second segment of the program. The first segment featured Denise Smithen, Deputy Director of Community Development, and Gavin Patterson, of the Community Development Officer in the Nevis Island Administration, talking about mainly the month of activities for Community Development Month happening right here on Nevis. And we're encouraging you to check it out. Some of the folks, they're indicating that you want to learn to play steel pan and stuff like that. They got a program for kids, for senior citizens, for everybody. And also they'll be having some events that the entire community can participate in. Second segment, the Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and a very pleasant good evening to my colleagues around the table. Let me say good evening to all those who are listening and viewing this edition of the Let's Talk program here tonight. To our listeners in the US and British Virgin Islands, in St. Martin, in Saba, in Statia, all the way up in Puerto Rico, all the way down to the islands. Let me say to all those who are in North America, United States, Canada, to all those who are over the pond in England and other parts of Europe, wherever they may be at this time, we are indeed delighted to be with you in this another edition of the Let's Talk program. Webbo, I want to say happy birthday to all those persons who are celebrating their birthday, and to those who might be celebrating some anniversary or some accomplishment in their lives. Readily, His Majesty King Keith Descendant Scarborough comes to mind. I think he's celebrating his birthday today. I certainly want to wish him a wonderful birthday. I hope he's having a wonderful evening. You know that he had some challenges recently, and he is on the rebound, so it's good to see that he is doing very, very well. About to those families tonight who are in mourning, whether they lost a loved one, a friend, a colleague, I certainly want to take this opportunity to offer my deep and sincere condolences to all those families who are in mourning tonight. Webbo, I want to thank you for the invitation, and I am indeed looking forward to tonight's discussion.
Roger Fifield, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my fellow panelists. It's a special good evening to those who are listening and those who are viewing. We no doubt would have a wonderful program this evening. As always, every Tuesday we come to hear from you, we come to see how much we can edify you, and of course how much we can learn from you. Webbo, I want to join to and say happy birthday to the king, this and that. I really didn't know that today was his birthday. My good friend, but when in Calypso, you know, we sit on the different sides, the opposite side, you know. But this and that knows, he know he's my friend, and he know that I love to give him some Calypso thump. So good night, this and that. Enjoy as the king you are. Celebrate and have a wonderful time, the king, this and that. Webbo, on Sunday gone, we had a big cricket match in Zion, and the Zion ball field, with the Bushwhackers team out of Rollins and the Easterns team out of the Zion area. It was a 12-over side. I think it was in celebration of St. George's Day, which was on the 23rd of April, 23rd of this month. So we had a big cricket match there, 12-over side, and it was sponsored by the Honorable Eric Evelyn. The eventual winners is the Bushwhacker team out of the Rollins area. I think they made something like 121 runs, and we fell short, I think, by 3 runs. We made 118 in response to the 121. And for the winnings, they got a cash prize, I think of, might have been $350, and the Easterns, who we placed second, and for second placing we would have received $150. And as I said, this was sponsored by the Honorable Eric Evelyn. So we want to say a hearty thank you to our area representative, Mr. Evelyn, and we hope that you will continue to support everything that is community minded and continue to support Gingerland and Nevis on a whole. Thank you once again, Webbo, for having me this evening, and looking forward to be engaged in a fruitful and productive discussion tonight.
Conrad Nair Liebert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your hard-working staff here at Vaughan Radio. Good evening to my colleagues around the table, and to everyone who is in tune in the various ways and means to this program. Webbo, once again, I'm happy to be here. I just want to say thanks for the invitation. As you know, I'm always willing and ready to have these conversations that deals with the development of our little island and region. And I hope at the end of this discussion we can probably arrive at some solutions to the various complications which usually confronts us. Thank you once again, Webbo, and I look forward to a good discussion.
Yeah, I guess you gentlemen heard some parts at least of the earlier, the first half of the program, which I find, was interesting in terms of trying to get the community involved in a lot of different things and stuff like that. The different programs that they're having, including playing music, well, there's steel pan, but I did ask if they have, other instruments and stuff like that. One of the things that I asked though is, how's the attendance and the participation, girls and boys? Every time you ask that question, people either get defensive or something in terms of participation with girls and boys. And so we, I suppose, have to just continue doing some work to get, that participation level up in a lot of activities with the boys.
Oh, the boys, we having a problem with the boys participating
in the steel pan, and stuff like that. Well, you could almost say in everything. But one thing I was happy that they were having a program, Easter program, and they had some mentorship and stuff like that. And my tech here is laughing because one of the items on the program that the fellas were doing, they were cooking. And I find that is interesting. Mr. Brand, what you find that's funny?
No, I cooking something I often enjoy when I have a little extra time, and I know my wife would not be too happy when I say that, because she often asks, why don't I cook today? So, but I think generally across the board, we continue to face some challenges with our young men, boys, young men, and I think that the Ministry of Social Services, Community Affairs, the various community organizations continue to do certain things to try and get our young men interested in some of these activities. Mr. Patterson spoke about steel pan. I grew up, Webbo, as a member of the Nevis Symphonic Band, and I think that these kind of community organizations prepare you for life, really. They build in you a level of discipline, a level of stick-to-itiveness, a level of community-minded spirit, and a level of responsibility. And I think that perhaps because not as many of our young boys or men are involved in these various kind of organization, that we see some of the challenges that they are facing. I can only say, Webbo, that we just have to continue to try new things, try to encourage them to get involved. We have to be able to expose them to the things that I feel can equip them for life. we smile about the cooking classes. When I lived with my aunt there, Webbo, she always used to say to me that you have to learn these kind of things because nobody is going to starve. Nobody should starve you. Looking at it, you realize that, hey, if you have to wait on someone to cook you a meal, you are in trouble. So the idea was to learn these things, you learn to cook, wash, clean, iron, all of those things. They have become second nature. But I think that while we try to encourage our young men, our boys, to get involved in these things, they basically equip you for life. Our young men may not know where they will end up in this planet. Our world is now such a small city, such a connected city, that the things that they learn at home would be able to keep them in good stead wherever they go. They go off to college, they go off to university, they can go to a different island for a job, a specialized job, and the things that they learn at home would be able to keep them and help them to survive. I think, Webbo, that those are the kind of things that we have to, like I said, continue to try new things, try to encourage our young men to be a part of these various community minded activities and organizations. Steel Pan, heavily, you have to concentrate. Like I said, when I was a member of the Navy Symphonic Band way back when, it allows you to be disciplined. And I think that because you are able to grow up with that level of discipline, there are certain things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and because of your discipline that you have, it allows you able to keep your wit about you. Because if you weren't as disciplined, if you did not have that level of discipline instilled in you at that early age, you could have been able to respond in a different kind of way, but that level of discipline was able to keep you grounded, help you to keep your composure, and those kind of things. So I think that these training and these experiences at a very young age would help you in the long run.
Yes, Webbo, I believe that it's important for our youngsters to, get embedded in them the good morals and how to go about life. But I wasn't as fortunate as Mr. Brand in terms of coming up in music, but I was a part of the Scouts, and I think that at that point in time we also had female Scouts, but it was more of a male group, so to speak. But in that group you learn life lasting skills. We used to have camps, and we would work for what we call badges. We had cooking badge, so we had to cook, and not just cook, but cook in a way that would please those who would be adjudicating in order to get a cooking badge. We had to do swimming badge. I can recall it might have been back in 1985. We camped at Bricklin in the old school. That's on the seaside. The school is no more. It was a wooden building. And then we journeyed to Newcastle, and we had to jump over the pier at Newcastle, and we had to do what they call it, butterfly swim and backstroke and stuff like of that nature in order to get the swimming badge. You had to be really disciplined. I can recall telling younger persons, including my children, Webbo, that I can recall when you did something that you weren't supposed to do. We used to have Scouts by the old schoolroom there in Gingerland, and whether the troop leader or the scout leader, they would tell you, put 2 stones in your hand and run around the school and come back. And you are not supposed to take your hands or bring your hands in. And guess what? Nobody is going to follow you to make sure that you keep out your hands. But when you come back, you'll be questioned and you'll be asked whether or not you had bring in your hands. And they then would have known if you brought in your hands, and if you did, you were going to be punished. And back to the camping, you had to be in bed at a certain time, you had to wake up for a certain time. We did PE, we did marching. I can recall back in the 80s when we parade for independence. It was just the police force, the cadet corps, and the scouts, the Fort Nevis Boy Scout, were the only ones. We were the only ones that were doing the slow march. And then I don't know what happened after then, but then I recognized over the years it was just the police and the cadet corps that were doing the slow march. But you learn so much things, Webbo, and I believe that it is important for these to be instilled at an early age. To the cooking, when we look around right now, most of the chefs really are male, but for some reason, we have this notion that when it comes to cooking, it must be females in the kitchen. But guess what? When I was growing up, my mother often said to me, look, learn hot water, and that means learn to cook. Learn to iron, learn to wash, not let a woman knock you about. And I'm speaking this way just for you to understand how my mother spoke to me. And I had to learn to do that. At age 5, I was washing my home clothes. We had different clothes back then. At age 8, I was washing my school clothes. And then at age 12, I was washing my church clothes. Because the church clothes, they were special ones. You couldn't dare touch them if you could wash. So all these are, are things that have been embedded in me, and not just me, but I guess persons who are around my age. So if the machine break down today, tomorrow, you can wash. If there is no electricity, a goose, a heater, or you can even take off the card off of an old heater, put it on the stove maybe. I put it on some coals, and you iron. So I think, Webbo, again, it is important for us not just wait until the boys are 12, 13 per se. Let us try to get a hold of them. From they are in preschool, we teach them certain fundamental things about life, how to move forward, and then they leave that stage, they go on to the primary school, we keep a hold of them, and then into the high school, we keep a hold of them, because it's important that we do. Because when we look around and we recognize that some of things that are happening, names cannot be called because the child is a juvenile, that says to me that the child is of a certain age. So I'm saying we cannot allow ourselves to allow them to go with, but we have to keep a hold on our youth, including our boys.
Well, I think we have been falling short as males recently. We are an integral part of the society, obviously. Just yesterday we were almost doing everything without the help of the females, and sometimes keeping the females abreast, and feel like we could have done it all by ourselves. And quite recently it looks like things have turned around. But I think both have an equal role to play in the development of these little societies, and I think those who are at the helm in terms of having the resource to organize things should really be aware of the shortfall, and maybe they should put more emphasis on incorporating the guys and find ways and means really to get their interest. I mean, one speak of cooking. I think cooking is something fundamental to everyone. I have a son, and he's a chef. He studied that in college, and never at all I felt like he was doing something that he shouldn't be doing. I encourage him to the fullness, and to be quite honest, he's never out of a job. And of course, I'm sure we all can testify that our mom always said to us, learn to cook. That wasn't a big thing with me, because I started to eat a certain way in my teenage, and I had to cook for myself, because I wanted to be a vegetarian, and that wasn't the thing that was happening I had to hide and cook sometimes, and so I learned to cook, and I realized my dad didn't learn. He has passed now, so I can say that. And I think that was a fundamental weakness. I know when my mom go away, he would just cook rice and corned beef. And so we would be eating rice and corned beef every day, and I can see in him that was a weak link in his whole life, not being able to do that, and therefore have to always be dependent on is something I don't want to happen to me, and I would encourage every guy to learn and cook. But in a general sense, we got to really figure out the things that makes the young man tick in terms of be interested in and want to participate in. Don't throw the ball too far away from their hands, because they would probably just get frustrated and don't even try to catch the ball. Show it that they can reach it, and so you got the full participation or some kind of inclination to participate. But what I would like to see is a lot more community initiative, and sometimes it's not only those who are organizing these things, it's within the individuals at time, like cleanup, I think if we really put that campaign out there about the cleanliness of our island, and through the various group, church or otherwise, we go about dealing with these matters, I cannot see that the guys backing out and leaving the girls to do it, to be quite honest. And so the point I'm trying to make is that whatever you're going to do, make it interesting that both gender can come together, and because gender coming together is a very important thing. It's a very important thing in terms of even though it's on a community level, it's a very important thing as it relates to the family. In these days, of course, we got to be functional, just as our mom used to be functional, because today what do we see? We see the females are out to work. Everybody having 2 jobs. You got to babysit. You got to cook for the kids. You got to do everything that the female usually in the past had to wrangle with. You got to really for the smooth running of the family, and once the family is running smooth, I believe that will spill over into the communal aspect of things. So it's about functionality and the consciousness just to know that we must participate. You know, I mean, Nevis is Nevis. How could we sit aside and there's this big campaign going on about clean up Nevis and well, warm to the man them. You know, and to me that it would be immoral on one's part, or on the male's part, just to say, well, I mean, because it affects all of us, you know, and so it shouldn't be a problem. And I mean, we speak about cooking. To me, that's a kind of thing that sometimes carry a taboo for some men. You know,
you can cook now.
Yes. Yes.
Just check it.
Well, I can cook, and I know that for sure. You know, because people tell me that I can cook.
People told you so.
You know, and yes, and I enjoy cooking too. To be quite honest, and to be quite honest, I don't do it very often. Yeah. I mean, these days, and you see, we come back to the same thing.
Yes.
You know, and but it's just not just cooking. You know, it's just that eager and willingness to participate in these life skills program and doing things that would make you a better and a stronger person going forward. Who wants to be dependent on somebody to feed them or to cook for them, or even to make their bed, you know, or even to sweep out their house? You know, I find when we're getting to that point where the responsibility in the family is absolutely equal, you know, going forward. Yeah, you know, I mean, the ladies, you know, bear the baby, but as soon as the baby born, even before the baby born, you understand, you got to be sharing, being a part of it, and it never stops. It should never stop, you know, going forward. And honestly, you know, I'm here talking this way, and I'm talking to myself too, you know what I mean, because of course you're growing up in this kind of society and you sometimes really fall short, and you know, but as you come to a certain level in life, you wish you could have sometimes undo certain things and do them in the correct way. And so you use this opportunity to encourage people, because you have gone past that, you know, and of course, you know, you look back and you say to you them now, you really got to be a part of the process, you know. It's no difference. I think guys now should really be pulling up their socks in every way, because we seems to be heading we're at the top of the list in terms of crime, and we are not at the top of the list in terms of academic achievement. Here I'm hearing that our participation in community activities are not what it's supposed to be, and so we have a lot of work to do. How do we start? Really? And I think I don't like to always point my fingers to here, there, and everywhere, because, you know, and everybody's different, but I think in the various institutions that exist, the schools, the church, you know, and even governments should really don't be a stranger to this type of discussion and this type of you know, well, activities that involve and encourage everyone to get involved. The point I'm trying to make is that we got to speak about these things a lot more. We've got to open up the doors. We got to make it easy for everyone to participate. We got to point our fingers to those who seemingly don't want to participate but want to reap the benefit of those who participate, you know. And when I'm speaking this way, of course I'm speaking towards our little island and the goodness of our little island, the development in a balanced way of our little island. And so, you know, we should not at all be weary of speaking towards the equal participation and at the same time the equal benefit of participating in communities, in community projects?
You know, Webbo, sometimes I wonder if it's what we as a society expect. Meaning, over the years, for example, you would have grown to think or believe that certain jobs, for instance, are for females. Example again, nursing. But now you are hearing about gender equality, and you are hearing it more so from a woman's perspective. We have to be equal, so to speak, or be on par with the men in terms of earnings, in politics. You're hearing about women in politics. Nothing is wrong with that, don't get me wrong. Right? But what are we doing for our males in terms of getting this notion or negativity out of them head when it comes to something like maybe nursing, so males can become nurses in Nevis? I want to believe that there was at least one male nurse in Nevis sometime recently, and I do not believe that individual was from St. Kitts Nevis, or a citizen of St. Kitts Nevis. So I'm just wondering if it is what the youngsters grow up to expect. And we look at it from a different angle in terms of the community cleaning, keeping your area clean. From our going school till now, I believe that some of the principals of these schools got it wrong. And I'm not just saying it as an adult. I have always been saying it from since I was going to school. And I got it wrong in this sense. You did something wrong, you had to be disciplined. And one of the things that they are going to tell you to do, go out and clean the schoolyard. And that is being meted out as discipline, as punishment. So when a youngster now grow with that mentality that, hey, to clean my area, to clean my surroundings, that's punishment. I really hope that is not happening today. It happened in my time, and I never liked it then, and I still do not like it. We cannot instill in our youngsters, maybe unconsciously, that to keep our surroundings clean, or to clean our surrounding, you meet it out as punishment, Webbo. I think that, I'm hoping that, as I said, has done away with, and we must now tell our youngsters it is good. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It is good to keep our surroundings clean. It is healthy to keep our surroundings clean. It is healthy for us. It is healthy for us to attract tourists to our show. But before we can attract tourists to our show, we must keep it clean for ourselves, and then for others. So I believe that our outlook, our view, how the youngsters, I'm not sure I'm a youngster anymore, but how the youngsters view, it's almost as if it's pressure. How you view, you are expected to do this. My father was a rum drinker, So I'm expected to be a rum drinker. No. You must be your own individual. If it's that your dad was doing something quote unquote good, then you must want to emulate what your dad was doing. But if your dad wasn't doing something good, then you should not want to emulate what your dad was doing. Now, when we look at the crime per se, the facts would bear out that most individuals that engage in criminal activities in Cincits Nevis are males. So is it that males look at it that they are expected to commit crimes? After all, we are one being, we are human beings. Or is it that the females think that, I hope I'm not being misconstrued here, that they are not supposed to? None of us should. But is it that they look at it that we are not expected, we as females are not expected to commit crimes, so we are not going to commit crimes? But why can't the male take a page out of the female book and say, look, if we are talking about gender equality and we should be equal, well, the ladies in this aspect are of a higher notch than us. So why can't we try to be equal with them and forget about the crime? I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
Well, if I may, Niall spoke about the school, church, and government, and perhaps the role that each of those various august body ought to play. And I would add to that, Webbo, our home and our civil society.
Mr. Brown, I'm just going to post this in so that you can continue as you make your point, you can address it. Which of those three are not doing their part? You said school, church, and government. Which of those three are not playing their part?
Well, the point that I was trying to get at is, I don't want our society to feel or think that the responsibility of the home should be now transferred to our schools. That is the angle that I want to look at it at. And I don't want I don't want it to be said.
The question I asked was to find out from you whether let's add the home, the school, the church, and the government, are they not, in their view, doing their part, what they're supposed to do?
But perhaps not to the level that I think that they can do.
You think the home will admit to you that they're not doing their part at the level that they're supposed to do?
Perhaps they may not admit.
Okay, walk with me.
Yeah.
You think the church will admit to you that they're not doing the part or the level that they're supposed to?
Well, when we think about the church, I was in church on Sunday, and the attendance in our churches have significantly dwindled. With that said, I feel that because of that reduction in attendance in our churches, that the religious instruction, the kind of moral compass that would seek to guide our thinking are not being disseminated to those persons.
In your sentence, you began with church and you ended with churches. Now, the attendance in your church, let's hypothetically say it used to be 200.
Yeah.
Now it is a mere 50.
Yeah.
Okay. What if I were to argue the other 150 that caused the dwindling in your church in terms of attendance? 50 of those are by Naya's church.
Well,
Another 50 by Five Fields Church, etc. What if I were to argue that?
Webbo, I will say to you that it's an issue that I am seeing far and wide throughout. It is something that I have observed, where the majority of attendance of persons are not necessarily attending the various churches as used to be before.
Yeah, but I disagree with you because I did some unscientific.
Well, your finding is unscientific.
Well, right, but see what happens. See what happens. Do you have an idea of how many churches we have on the island now?
I don't have the exact number, but I would even say that one was just rededicated on Sunday. Was dedicated on Sunday.
Okay. Would you be alarmed if I were to tell you that it has somewhere around 60 70 something? Okay, some Five Fields you said 70 something?
Yeah, I just take time to count them out from parish to parish.
Okay,
so about 58 or somewhere around here.
But Five Fields said 70 something. But it's somewhere that I was having a conversation with a pastor recently, right? Because that's when I sound scientific. I do conversations and I discuss and I ask stuff, right? Now, so if we have, for argument's sake, 70 churches, and your church, which used to have 200, only have 50, it tells you that some of that other churches have maybe 5, 10, etc., etc. So you see where I was coming from when I say of the 150, 10 might be here, another 10 and stuff like that. So it still adds up to 200 going to church. You agree with that?
Not entirely. Go ahead.
But that is what is happening, because if you now look at the same, we have about the same population size.
Webbo,
and whereas you now have 70 churches, then the days that you're talking about, we didn't have 20.
Well, the point that I'm trying to get at, let me get to the point that I want to get at. The point that I want to get at is, Naya, like I said, Naya mentioned about the school, church, and government. I wanted to convey to the listeners that I don't want us to develop a mindset where the schools or the responsibility of the homes have been transferred to the school, or vice versa, the responsibilities of the church have been transferred to the school. I believe, Webbo, that all of these various pillars of our society have an integral role to play in the development of our young people, boys, girls, people in general. And I think, Webbo, that whenever we see that there is perhaps a reduction of persons having access to that kind of involvement of the church and the home and the school, then we begin to see a breakdown in our society. The teachers will tell you that they are called upon from time to time to perform parenting duties, and they have done it. The humanity in them have caused them to do it, and it allows, or it prohibits them, Webbo, from imparting, in my mind, the widened scope of what their true mandate is, and that is the education of our children. Now, in the home, we have a situation, Webbo, where perhaps Naya spoke about, I think it was Naya or Roger who spoke about persons are now having 2 and 3 jobs. I think it was Naya, when we are the youngster in the home now have to look after. All of that is fine. I think all of us grew up under some of that, and I feel, Webbo, that we're again the level of parenting and the level of caring and the level of nurturing may become dispersed or reduced because, quote unquote, many of our families have to, because of their circumstances and because of the situation, have to do 2 and 3 jobs. Those are the kind of impact that we are seeing on our society, and it's impacting. You spoke about the reduction in or the increase in churches, where persons may be going to a different church and so on. But it's a problem that we are facing throughout, where there continue to be a reduction in the attendance of churches. And I am saying, Webbo, that in that religious teaching and in that religious instruction, where you are given certain moral guidance and instruction, if that is missing, the thought process of some of our people have become, in my mind, diluted, and they are not. We're talking about how we respond to certain situations, where if a person is taught a particular kind of tolerance, a particular kind of patience, a particular kind of level of forgiveness and that kind of thing, and if that is taken away from them, then we are seeing some of the kind of responses and retaliation that we are seeing in our community. And those are the kind of impact, Webbo, those are the kind of points that I wanted to get at, where our schools, our homes, our churches, civil society and the government, all of them have a specific role and duty to perform. And if it is that some of that role and that responsibility is now being transferred to one because there is a weakness in the other.
Just going back to church, is going to have the resulting effect of a better society?
No, I never said that. No.
I didn't. The fact that I asked a question is not implying that you said it. I'm just asking the question. If we as a society go to church every Sunday, suppose everybody go to church every Sunday from now until the end of the year, therefore we have a better society?
At least on Sundays.
Well, it will allow persons
not to. Well, before you finish, I'm going to answer 5 years, and maybe not necessarily even on Sundays.
Yeah, that is true.
Because if Satan is real and Satan is everywhere, he can also be in the church, correct?
Yes.
So even on a Sunday?
Even on a Sunday.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I am not saying that if everybody goes to church on a Sunday that we are going to have a completely better society. What I'm saying is that the level of religious instructions would allow persons to be a lot more rational, a lot more tolerant, a lot more their thought process in terms of how they respond to certain kind of things would be, in my mind, completely different. Because, Webbo, I think if you have clear biblical religious instruction, it must have some kind of impact on how you think and how you relate to people. I am not saying that if we go to church every Sunday and we hear everything that, I mean, the devil is even in the pulpit sometimes because of man's failing. But I'm saying, Webbo, that these are the kind of things that we lose because a lot of our young people to some extent are not necessarily exposed to those kind of teaching. And if you are not being taught a certain kind of things, your lifestyle is kind of coarsen.
You mean teaching that comes from the pulpit?
Not only that, Webbo, teaching that comes from the home. But
you were referencing the church. So you were saying that if you go to church and you get this teaching, then you will likely be a better person, correct?
Well, that is the entire teaching of biblical instruction.
Right, so that's why I asked. So you're talking about teaching that comes from the pulpit.
Yeah.
And you also, just before that, said that the devil also can be in the pulpit.
Absolutely. So sometimes it's there.
So if the devil is in the pulpit and he says the devilish things, the fact that it comes from the pulpit is different?
if the devilish things come from the pulpit, if it's different?
If the devil is in the pulpit and he spews out his devilish things, just because it comes from the pulpit, then it will save you?
No, Webbo, absolutely not.
Okay. So therefore, going in the church and getting the instructions from there, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be made whole, because as you point out, it also could be the devil. Do you know you have more than one Bible these days?
Yeah, quite a few. Different translation and different...
No. A fella just has his own Bible. He's selling them for $60.
No, that's...
If I feel you wanted to say something.
Like a light moment here,
Webbo, I believe that, you know, it is not just going to church, but it is going to church and understanding
accept the change,
what is being taught to you in church. Because one can go to church every Sunday and comes out the church doors the same. You have to be able to, I believe what Bran was trying to say, with all due respect, Mr. Bran, is that if you go to church and you go to church often, the probability of you turning from your bad ways, so to speak, would be greater than if you are absent from church. Hence the reason, go to church every Sunday. You may go 2 Sundays, 5 Sundays, you may come out the same. But if you continue to go, and if what is coming from the pulpit is not devilish, to use the term that one of the panelists used, you yourself, Mr. Herbert, would have used. If what is coming is not devilish, then I believe if people go and they want change, they would be able to get change, understanding what is coming from the Bible, understanding the word, and not necessarily looking at the actions of the pastor. And I did say, Webbo, that maybe at least on a Sunday. And the reason why I'm saying this, Webbo, because it comes back to us as a society again. What standard are we held at? You know, we are nice. You know, we don't dress a particular way when we go to church, because we are expected to dress a particular way, especially females. You know, you would find them at the parties and other social events, you know, dress a certain way, exposing themselves in a particular way. But it is expected when they go to church that they must be clothed in a particular way. Similarly, when they go to church, it is expected of them, or expected of us, to behave in a certain manner. We must be quiet. We must not be talking when the preacher is preaching. We should not be getting up and going to the bathroom or walking all up and down the church when the preacher is preaching. That is expected. It is expected, albeit in recent times there would have been shooting in churches and stuff like that. But it's generally expected that we would not have those kind of behaviors in the church. We would not have those kind of behavior going to church and from church. Hence the reason, Webbo, I would have said at least on a Sunday. And if it's at least on a Sunday, then maybe we could follow suit on the Saturday. Remember, they are
You have Saturday worshippers as well.
exactly they are Saturday worshippers. Sorry. So if we could have at least 2 days out of 7 that we are going to uphold and be holy, so to speak, then we just have to work on the other 5, in my opinion. And then if we can work on the other 5, then we get a third one, then I believe that we would be making some progress. But Webbo, just to go back to the point that you were making in reference to what Mr. Brand was saying in terms of the membership in his church might be dwindling, I want to support you, Webbo, on this point. In terms, when we really look at it, I want to believe that all of these churches that we have in Nevis now, they would have branched off from some quote-unquote main church. The Anglican, the Moravian, the Methodist, the Roman Catholic. When you have, for instance, let me just say no, I'm not sure which was first, but you're hearing of First Baptist, Calvary Baptist, you are hearing of Church of God of Prophecy, Church of God of the Saints, and stuff like that. It tells me that they have been branched off. And if they have been branched off, do you want to tell me that someone from nowhere just popped up and started a church? I want to believe that it's someone who feels as if that he has what it takes to be a pastor and he wants his own church, as someone who might have been disgruntled for whatever been happening in his or her church, and they now start their own church. And what would happen? You'd find that some persons from one of those main churches, so to speak, would start to follow, start to attend that church. And then what might happen is that maybe someone who, for instance, let me use this because this is real. There are some persons out there who do not believe in calling a pastor, preacher, father this, father that, and they might, for example, stop going to that church, and they might.
Thank you for holding.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. Sorry, thanks, Webbo. They may not want to be in a church where they have to call a pastor Father Raja. So they might want to probably go to another church, and then you'd find that those persons who were silent, because they didn't want to disrespect the pastor, they come, they move out, and it is evident in our society. When I look around, I see persons having their own church, their own churches, and they were attending one of these mainstream, so to speak, churches before. The facts are there. We are living in a smart society, and they are pulling persons from those main churches. This is a fact. When you look, there are churches in schools on Nevis. There are churches in community centers in Nevis. There are churches that are held on the tents. There are churches that are held in private buildings that are not considered quote unquote private buildings that are not considered quote unquote churches. So we can see it. There may be a dwindling in this particular church, but you might find that a particular church pop up and there is a rise in attendance in that particular church. But we have to look at it deeper than just attendance. We have to look at it that each individual must be able, first and foremost, to comprehend. They must be able to understand what is being taught to them. Because if they cannot understand and be able to relate and cipher for themselves, then I'm not sure if we are moving forward. So they must be able to do that, and they must be able to be willing to open up their heart, right, Brother Bran?
Absolutely.
They must be able to open up their heart to accept the word in order for change, in my humble opinion, that is. And not just, change on the outside in terms of clothing.
But can it be too much religious teachings? It can be too much religious teachings at times. Because when I make reference to the school, the government, and churches, I make that reference bearing in mind these places are where people gather. Because the good can be emulated in many different ways. A fisherman with his fishing mates going out there, they could be emulating the good. I find wherever you find yourself in a position, especially where youngsters are around, like apprentices, I'm a welder and I teach people how to weld. But I don't just teach people how to weld. All day we talk about life skills and disciplines and what is good for the development of the individual. All day. You encourage them to don't stay where I am. I want to see you guys go on, much deeper into this thing than where I am. And you teach them about the good that is required of them in a society to emulate the good. And I find wherever we are, you should be doing that. You don't have to be really, if you're in the church, then people are gathered, and so you speak of social good. You speak of involvement, that probably would spill off with more people participation, the more equal gender participation, in schools. You might be a biology teacher or even a history teacher, or let's say a biology teacher in school. Of course, you got to, at times you expect that you're going to branch off and you're going to speak to the kids and encourage the young boys and let them know to be a nurse is something that is worthy to be considered. I don't believe in that strict along the line approach. As I say, I as a guy who teaches well, you can ask my apprentices. The conversations will be nice because we're talking about life, and you're telling them, they're listening. You're telling them about the good that you expect of them, that the society expect of them, and that is what is important to me. And that's why I say we should not seize the opportunity to, or we should seize those opportunity to, when you have people around listening, especially youngsters, man. You got to talk to them constantly. And I find wherever young people gather, like the church, like the school, because a lot of things that we are talking about, that we would like to see in the society, these are not subject matters in the school, These are not subject matters in the church, but you can always incorporate it because you're a teacher, and the whole energy is towards creating a better society, a better individual, and so when I speak to the church and the schools and government, it's because these institutions seems to be at times in position where they have that congregation, that gathering of people, that you can really, speak and emulate the good, for the benefit of the society. Too much religious teaching is no good. It's not good. You understand?
Yeah.
It
is not
good. But I hear you. But let me ask you a question. Do you feel that do you feel that these quote unquote pillars of our society, the pillars that quote unquote often keeps the fabric of our society together, do you feel that they are, one, fulfilling their role and their responsibilities to the level and the extent that they ought to?
No. Look at the results. Look at the result what we're experiencing in the society. I don't think so at all. I really don't. people go to church and you teach them biblical scriptures and so forth, and a lot of religious things, which is okay. You know, I'm not hating on that. But what I'm talking about, don't you ever forget, you know, what the society demands of those individuals that you're teaching. If the society has a certain weakness, those individuals must know of that, and you're talking to them in a manner that they would be in some way advocates, and not just verbally, but in their everywhere, to the change, to make a better society. You know, religion sometimes equal division, and even within the church, as you just spoken to, you got just cross opinions, and as a result you're gonna form your own church, you're gonna form your own church, you're gonna form your own church. But I hope in all these little church formings, what I would like to see is that they constantly refer to what is good for the individual, what is good for the society.
The moral compass.
The moral compass, as Mr. Brand would say. It is very important to me, you know, because as I said, the good can be emulated in everywhere where people are gathered. You as a man who have your camps, you know, you don't forget that. When you have people, 100 people camping, you know, you got to instill in them. We see that the youngsters, the males are not doing good, you know, you got to instill in them, you know, I mean, that we want to see more. We want to see more. And I believe when I say teachers, I'm not just referring to people who teach in schools. We're all teachers. Yes. We're all teachers. Once you got people listening to you, you can teach them the wrong things too, you know. But you must be committed to teaching them what is good for them, the right things, you know. And I think we got to be just more open in that respect, because we are all teachers, brother. We are all teachers in every respect, you know. And I mean, I go down in a store the other day, and I saw a young man buying certain things, and I said, wow. I met him about 2 weeks after, and I call him and I start talking to him, and I lay him know, look, I see you doing that, you know, and to be quite honest with you, you will live to regret. You will live to regret. You know, it is not something I would encourage you to be a part of, to be quite honest. You know, we're all teachers, because when I see him doing that, it never left my mind, you know, that I got to talk to this young man, you know what I mean? And I met him on his job, and I know I impacted on him, you know, when I spoke to him. So we should never give up. We should never be quiet when there is that opportunity to emulate the good in people, especially the youngsters, to give them that kind of so they can have that, because sooner or later they're going to find themselves in your position and they're going to do the same. They're going to do the same, you know. But I think we are too money driven here. Church is everybody money driven, and they are arguing about the congregation. It's not because you know it's how much money they can make from the you know. So, and then other little churches are opening up here and there and everywhere else. But I think we are missing. Yes, Mr. Brand, I don't think that we are doing the best, these institutions that we speak towards, because I think we are too much. We need to look at the broader picture at times, and realizing your responsibility as a teacher, a history teacher, a biology teacher, any teacher in school. You never forget to really communicate to these youth, even outside what you're hired for as a history teacher, you know, because you're a teacher, you know, and speak to the good. What do you think, Mr. Man?
So, in essence, our focus
in essence, our focus, because look, every society has its problems. We have a problem here. We start this program talking about it. The youngsters, the males, are not participating, and so we know that exists, and so that could be one of our trending thoughts to communicate, to the people who are listening to us, in all those various places, skill training people. The youngsters listen. They are not just there to learn woodwork, but they are there to learn positivity. They are there to adapt the good, to emulate the good in themselves, and on a wider scope to the society they find themselves living in.
Naya, we have to be so conscious of ourselves, because we don't know who are looking at us, who are trying to emulate us. So I believe as persons in the society, and I'm speaking general here, that we must be mindful that youngsters might be looking at us. Youngsters might be saying, I want to become like Tom Jones. And they've been looking at Tom Jones over a period of time. And they might even be hearing things about Tom Jones. And they may think that it's cool. Well, Tom Jones got away with it, so when I grow up, I can do and be like Tom Jones.
And that's why we got to be careful with the people who we see as role models.
Yep.
We got to be very careful, because enough people will always think that because he's rich and he drives these nice cars, and role model.
This final question, and the answer will be the last word. Who picks or determines who is a role model?
The individual.
The society.
I think the individual.
The individual.
That's the last word. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Join Keith Scarborough on Thursday evening at 8 o'clock right here in the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse for government at work. A good way to spend all your evenings right here on Vaughan Radio. We are one of the best we'll do. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily